right. Hold on. We gotta get serious. I feel like we should smoke another blunt. I didn't bring any more.
That's the video.
I didn't bring any more with me. All right, so. All right, so we're here to talk about AKs, or as I like to call them, choppers. All right, so we're here to talk about choppers, AKs, motherfucking chopsticks, broomsticks, them things. I don't know what else they call them in the hood. Dracos, you might hear the term, but that usually is referring to a smaller type. So we're gonna go over like different types of AKs that you might run into. Actually, let's start off by talking about my particular AK. I picked the AK platform for a specific reason, mainly because of its stopping power. That 7.62 by 39 is a round that is like definitely made to put a man down. It's made for like medium engagements, anywhere between like 300 to 600 yards, but it is very effective in those distances. As far as when it hits something, it really knocks them down. This particular one that I have is a Yugo M70 AB2. That just sounds like a bunch of numbers and letters, but this particular one is like the last of the classic imports that were imported into the United States before production kind of went over to here. Most of the AKs that we have nowadays are made, you know, in country. But this one here was actually made in Serbia, well, what's now called Serbia, former Yugoslavia. They call it the Yugo AKs because they were the infantry rifle for the Yugoslavian army for the longest time. This particular one is the M70 AB2, and basically what that means is that this gun was built on a RPK receiver, which a RPK is just a stronger, bigger version of the AK-47. It's just meant to sustain a little bit more fully automatic fire, so that means it has a bulge trunnion. Trunnion is a piece that goes right here behind the barrel. It's actually what the barrel plugs into, and you can tell that this one has a bulge trunnion by the bulge that you can see right underneath the bolt. This goes on both sides, and basically what that means is this receiver, which is made out of folded steel, is millimeter thicker than any other AK that's built off of an AKM receiver, which would be looks exactly the same, except that it would be flat in this area and this area here. But this one is the M70 AB2. It's really distinct when you look at them. And actually, what a lot of people don't know is the M70 was actually used and inducted by the U.S. military. You can find a photo of U.S. military using this gun during training exercises, and it's very distinct because if you look at this particular AK versus every other AK, I've changed my wooden handguard, but when you look in their original form, when they come with a wooden handguard, you'll see 3 different slots for heat dissipation, and on every other AK, every other Soviet bloc AK has 2 slots. So on the Yugo you'll find 3, which just makes the Yugo a little bit harder to find like parts for. This one is actually heavily modified. I've done a lot to it, changed a lot, pretty much everything that you can change on here, minus the barrel and the front sight. But basically I changed the dust cover. I have a Texas Weapon Systems dog leg. I've changed the handguard and found an extended rail from SLR Rifle Works. Shout out to SLR Rifle Works. They make great products, and they are one of the only people out there to make an extended rail for the M70. There is a few other companies that have made rails for them. Most of them are just like regular standard length and just use the same setup with the regular handguard retainer piece. But this one here is an extended one, which was kind of hard to find. But if you need one, shout out to the guys at SLR Rifle Works. I was able to purchase this right off of their website. Paid full price for it, but I'm very happy with the product. Then other than that, I have changed the pistol grip and added this Troy Industries stubby foregrip, which I've always been a big fan of this particular model foregrip for the longest time. So, and then as far as optics, I decided to opt with a Leopold Freedom, which was very inexpensive, but still a very good sight as far as its durability goes. It's made in America, which kind of matters to me, but this is a very like A1 red dot for the way that it performs, and there's nothing special about it. It just gives you like a 2, I believe it's a 2 MOA dot. Then I added a Chinese made. That's why I say it's not that important, you know, that it's made in America, because this one was a lot cheaper than any other magnifier that I could find that was made in America, but it performs just as good as most of the other ones. It was really between 2 Chinese made one, which was this one, which is the Vortex magnifier, or the Hollow Sun magnifier, and I went with the Vortex because I walked into a store and they had it, so I bought it. I was like, fuck it, I need one. They got one. Fuck having to order that shit, so I just bought it. But it works really good, and like I got fucked up eyes, so when I look through that magnifier, it really helps out a lot. So, and it flips out of the way, which is really cool. It makes me feel like I'm in a video game. I also have an iron sight in here that's really, if you could like look at this gun and pick out the rear iron sight, I would give you a lot of props, but I'm going to point to it. It's right here. The only reason why I have it, you cannot see through any of this shit here and use it, but the only reason why I have it is just in case I need iron sights. It's like, I don't know, everybody's like, oh, you need another fucking set of iron sights or you're a bitch. I don't want to be a bitch, so I got a set of iron sights. And I keep it on here, so extra prepared all the fucking time for anybody who like wants to talk shit about this video. I got paracord, bitch. Shit is awesome. Fucking like 750 feet. That's not accurate. I probably have like maybe 100 feet on here, if that. But it sprays all on the side and around the bottom, which is super creative. Never seen anybody with that shit. I got it. And I got a fucking sling for this bitch. And it's dope as hell too, because I also got paracord on it. Boom. Fucking paracord king out this bitch. I will make a snare and a bow and arrow and whatever the fuck, fishing line, whatever people do with paracord. I got a bunch of it all over the fucking place. And yeah, that's pretty much it. This video was meant to be a lot better structured, but it is not. So either way, I hope you guys like my AK, and if you have any questions, you can comment below. All right, so talking about like different types of AKs that you might run into out there. When you talk about an AK-47, that's a really specific type of rifle that is made in Russia. That is the service rifle for the Russians, or was the service rifle for the Russians for a lot of years. And then every other AK that's made is like an AK variant, so to speak. So starting off with the AKs, or an AKM, basically is a Russian rifle that comes with a folded steel receiver. Originally they were forged, but then they ended up going to folded steel for the duration of its service. And the Russians are great. When you come across a Russian rifle, buy it. It's really hard to come across now because of different sanctions that were put into place that ban them from being imported. But if you can find a Ishmash or a Sega, which is made in Ishmash, which is the factory that makes it, or a Vepr, which is made in Molot, which is another factory that makes AKs. If you can find either one of those are really common to be imported into the United States, and they're very hard to find. If you could find those, you want to buy those because of the value that they retain. If you want to sell an AK, it's kind of like having a Colt AR. You're always going to get the most for a Colt or something like that. Other types that you might run into are the Romanian AK. The Wasser 10 is very common. They're basic AKMs with just regular receivers, regular folded steel. They're good guns. As far as they'll take you through a lot of rounds. They're definitely worth the money that you pay for them, but they're like your entry level into the AK world. Next step up, you might start looking into like some American made stuff. Like Palmetto State Armory has been making some really good stuff. You might run into some Polish AKs. Polish AKs are kind of abundant because Poland was actually a member of NATO. Or is a member of NATO, and they also employed the AK for a number of years as well. So when the Soviet Union fell, Polish AKs were one of the first, most abundant AKs that we were able to get into the United States. But they're very good guns as well. They really don't have a bad reputation. The problem with AKs and a lot of their reputation is a lot of the guns had to be dismantled on their way into the United States and then reassembled when they got into the United States. So a lot of, in the beginning when a lot of AKs were first coming over, it was a lot of, you would get a lot of things where the quality was hit or miss. But that had more to do with the inexperience of the Americans who were importing the guns and slapping the pieces back together to sell to the American public. But after time went on, they were able to, get the modes down and exactly what they needed to do to get things done, and things, the quality got a lot better. But, not to say that you couldn't, buy an AK and find that the front sight is canted a little bit, or that maybe it shoots a little to the left, no matter what you do. That's just the nature of the business. But my AK that I have is, we want a little bit more higher quality, and you could definitely, if you want to find a higher quality AK, they're easy to find. Some of the stuff that's made in Bulgaria, some of the stuff made in Serbia is kind of top of the line right now. Arsenal is a really big company that makes really good stuff. You can even go a step higher and go with a company like Rifle Dynamics. All their stuff is made in America, but to the highest of specifications, and really good guns. So me personally, when I decided to put together an AK, I've been kind of dreaming about this rifle for a long time in my head, and all the pieces that I decided to put on here are really specific. There's a couple things more that I'll do to it, but as far as right now, this gun is like all that I ever wanted out of an AK. Does everything that I expected to do, but it's a really good gun. And I definitely recommend AKs over ARs because, don't be a bitch. Like a lot of people complain about the recoil of an AK. If you complain about the recoil of an AK, you probably complain about the sound of your microwave or some other shit that doesn't matter. But as far as it provides a little bit more stopping power, which is exactly what I like because I'm not a bitch. So however you can live your life however you want. All right. So as far as Dracos go, they're really kind of pieces of shit.
That is one big pile of shit.
You can buy a Draco, that's fine. You can make it up and dress it however you like. You can make it a better piece of shit, but as far as Dracos go, they're like the lowest end of AKs that you can kind of get. Excuse me. Dracos are like we were talking about the Wasser 10. It's a low entry level type gun, and the Draco was another version of that. It's just a low level, small AK, but pretty much built on the same receivers that Wassers are, but they're just meant to be a little bit shorter. They have these really short barrels pressed into them, and they work pretty reliable. As far as reliable, they're mostly overgassed, and they're probably not going to have a long life as far as you giving it a sustained diet of ammo every day or taking it out 2-3 times a month. I don't expect it to last 5,000-10,000 rounds, but it's they look cool. They give you like this big like fireball out the front of them when you shoot them. But there's better versions out there. I would probably go with like the NPAP or the SAM 7. The SAM 7 is actually a really nice gun, which I want to say retails at about like 1,500. Well, then again, gun prices right now are like way off the charts, so I'll refrain from saying anything. You know, a bunch of people show up in the comments and be like, "Bitch, that shit's like $6,000." But the SAM 7 is a really good gun. And as last time I checked, it was on like, you know, decently affordable. But that one's built off of a milled receiver. It's an AK pistol, and it also comes with like this really cool crank muzzle brake, which is like awesome. If you're into like Soviet guns, you really like the muzzle brake. Excuse me, COVID. The MPAP or the ZPAP pistols, the small pistols that are made from Zastava, the same company that makes my AK. Those are really good guns as well. They're folded receivers. Sometimes you can find them with the, well, most of the time when I see them, they come with the RPK receivers, which really does make a difference. So, I mean, definitely that bulge trunnion is what you want under like sustained use. If you're going to be, you know, shooting the gun a lot, that's really what you want to go with. Which the Vepr also, the Vepr Russian rifles also had were built off of an RPK receiver as well, which are also really good guns. Which is my choice if I would have to pick, like, you know, Sega or Vepr. I'd probably go with a Vepr if I had the chance to purchase one. But the MPAP would be a better choice than the Draco. But, you know, if you know, Dracos, it's really crazy right now because Dracos are more expensive than those other guns. But I think what really makes them more valuable right now at the moment is because they're very small. Like, you can get like the micro Draco, which is like the smallest AK, like kind of fits in your pocket. You know, if you're ever gonna conceal an AK, like that's gonna be the one. But it's you can still throw a 75 round drum in it. It still has a lot of stopping power. Every time when you pull that trigger, you're gonna get a huge fireball and a like deafening thunder crack coming out of the end of it. But as far as, you know, would I trust my life with it? Probably not. But you know, they sell and they are around right now. So, but yeah, not a huge fan of Dracos. Some of the other AK pistols aren't bad, but just really depending on whatever you're looking for. So basically, choppers are the shit. And if you want to light a bitch up, ain't nothing better than rolling up with a chopper and letting the bitch have it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the motherfucking way to go. This is it. If you like roll up on me with anything else, I probably ain't gonna respect you. I mean, if you come up with the AR, I might not even get it to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, but you pull out the chopper, I'm gonna be like, bro, here's my wallet, my sound system, to my car. I don't know who still steals car radios, but choppers are the shit, man. You need one, zombie apocalypse, every like situation that you can get into. If you got a chopper, you can definitely get out of it. So, fucks with me.